Welcome, No DQ Galaxy, to another episode of What's NXT for November 28th. I am, of course, the Wizard of No DQ, Stephen Osborne, joined as always by the General Jerry Slaughter.
Evening Wrestling Vince.
Now, this was basically the first week of NXT that we've seen post NXT TakeOver, since last week was basically
just the dark matches.
And it's a weird kind of transitional episode where the stories are supposed to be after the pay-per-view, but everything was taped before the pay-per-view. I guess it's one of those that's enjoyable to watch, but you kind of got to forget about it. So this starts new. And what's new tonight is the fact that we are not at Full Sail.
No.
Where are we, Jerry?
We are in San Jose, California.
Honestly, I wasn't sure if you knew. I didn't know. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but I had completely forgot. All I noticed was that this was a house show. This was on the road doing a show somewhere else.
A very weirdly lit house show. We'll say that too, because like if you're white on that program, you're extra white like tonight on the TV. So
yeah, it was a different set, different Tron. It looked pretty good. It had this middle spear of a Tron on behind which the wrestlers would come out, and then you had the two big ones back here. It looked pretty good. The setup looked pretty good. Obviously, we're back to the steel guardrails with the NXT drapery logos on them, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's absolutely good.
The lighting, though, was atrocious.
Yes.
The first match, and we get right into the show. Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch come out, and we didn't even get the beginning of their entrance. They're coming out now.
They're just barreling out to their music, and they are ready to fight, which like automatically gets you pumped right for the show. It's like,
well,
we're starting now?
It did
okay.
when I saw people coming out, but then when I realized it was Lorcan and Burch, I was like, meh. Because that's where I'm at with Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch right now. I'm just like, meh.
Well, we've talked about this. Burch had some pretty awesome like singles showing, especially against Pete.
He had one awesome single showing where he looked good. Of course, I think the match was longer than it needed to be, but for the most part, he looked good in the match. Before that, I had no reason to consider him anything but bland.
Yeah, I was about to say I would even say he's meat and potatoes. He's pretty much almost like Spam.
Now, this match made Oney Lorcan look less than bland. It made Oney Lorcan look more bland than Danny Burch by comparison, but that's not saying much. There was a point in there where Danny Burch looked like he was on fire-ish. Like he looked really ready to go. He was putting a lot of speed into his moves and shit.
They're putting a lot of stock in the Danny Burch at this point. But both of the brands, but the regular NXT and NXT UK.
But the main focus for me of this match was the Mighty.
The Mighty
They look good.
Yes.
They didn't look great, but they look like they are being...
They're being pushed pushed up to the next level at this point because their feud with the Street Profits, though it was awesome.
Well, they lost that last match.
Yeah.
They lost this match, so I wouldn't use the word push. But when it comes to being a team together, they look like they're just gelling better. Well, I don't know how long they've been a team, but it seems like the last couple of weeks they've just looked better as a tandem when it comes to doing moves together with strategy that is purely tag team strategy.
I'm going to go back to your theory on them losing on both these matches. Sometimes the greatest push a team like theirs can get is them losing, which we saw evident at the end of this match. Because they could throw their little temper tantrum and like come off as better heels. Is that the thing?
I don't know if their attack on Orkin and Burch made them look better or made Orkin and Burch look worse.
Yeah.
I think it made Burch and Orkin look weak, and the Mighty just got defeated when they had several instances in this match where it looked like they were going to win.
Yeah, that was the part that really threw me. I thought there was going to be an upset going on here because there's a couple couple near falls and a couple of those tag team maneuvers or just a way of blocking off your opponent that I was like, oh, holy shit, the Mighty's about to win here. So, but that just wasn't the case, and even then the finish with was it
The
Birch got the spear.
Yeah,
And
the Mighty had Lorcan up, and it looked like they were going to do some sort of tag team finisher.
yeah,
Basically, they both had him up like they were, like he's suspended in the front part of a backdrop,
yeah.
a big back body drop by both of them.
Hmm.
And Birch comes in with a spear, spears one of them out of the way, and then when Lorcan falls, he rolls up the other guy into a fruit roll up pinfall
Yeah.
for the victory. Um, yeah. Uh, there was a couple of spots in this match that were entertaining, but overall, I didn't really see any story in this match at all.
Mm-mm.
It was okay.
This
It's an okay
is
match.
this is just to get teams a little more TV time and a little more gelling time. But I think, like you said, the Mighty I think have been together longer. They look like they're actually tag team specialists. Like if you put them in separate matches or anything, I doubt they'd be able to thrive.
I think the only reason they had this match was to give Lorcan and Birch the win. Not
Yeah.
even to make them look good, just to give them the win. Because they only looked good for that brief period where Birch, like, had his, I don't know, it was like he ran over a speed boost,
Yeah.
in a video game, and he was in another gear for about 90 seconds,
Hmm.
and then it was just back to bland old Birch and Lorcan. I think the Mighty should have won this match, but that's just me. Because they look good, they look like they deserve this match.
I could actually.
But this is not the first time I'm going to say that in this episode.
I was about to say I could see a rematch going on between the two. If anything, as a matter of respect, or Birch and Lorcan actually demanding respect out of the Mighty, and the Mighty just not giving it to them.
Well, I think they need to worry about respect out of the audience.
Yeah.
And I think just because of how long they've been around and the fact that they were tag champs once, I think. Or maybe they, at the very least, they were up for contention and everybody cheered for them. Because that was back before the Undisputed Era was really as hot as they are now, where
Yeah.
everybody cheered anyway. Anyway, yeah, I'm not impressed by Birch and Orkin still. They still just, they're not entertaining to watch, really. Like I said, Birch had that one match with Pete Dunne, but I think it was mostly Pete Dunne that ended up, because he probably called spots in that match that made Birch look good just so Dunne could look better when he won.
Yep.
So anyway, let's get away from this match because it was okay at best. We get a video recap of EC3 getting attacked by the Undisputed Era and most notably Bobby Fish with the chair across the leg, and EC3's been gone for like four or 6 weeks, some shit like that. It's been a little while. We thought he was getting called up. Obviously, he is not.
That's the call I initially made, was the fact that he's going to be away on injury and just pop up on Raw or SmackDown maybe a month later.
Nope. We are getting an EC3 match tonight. In fact, they tell us exactly who he's facing. It's going to be Marcel Bartel, who is a notorious enhancement talent. And I say that in the most loving way because he was great.
I was about to say, I likened him to William Regal. You likened him to Alex Wright, and he did look kind of like a mixture of both of them. He had like the
Wunderkind.
Yeah, he looked like body build wise, except for the fact that he's much taller than I thought he was actually going to be.
Yeah. Same thing with Alex Wright. He was much taller than he seemed.
Yeah, he's quite lanky, if anything.
Yeah.
But then he had like the mannerisms and whatnot of like an earlier Steven Regal, pretty much like the way
He just has poise.
Yeah.
He's got this abundance of poise, and until you see him, walking to the ring and getting in the ring and doing what little of a taunt or pose or whatever that he's got, you'll understand when you see it. He just has this poise that I can only like to Alex Riley, William Regal, or even Noam Dar,
Yeah.
the Scottish Supernova. He's got just this poise when he does his poses. But anyway, before we get to this match, we had an interview backstage with Kairi Sane, and she's being flanked by Dakota Kai and Io Shirai.
Yep.
And basically,
Pretty much the inevitable. They want the 6-woman tag.
Well, the question was about her in the match, the best out of three falls match she had with Shayna Baszler for the championship. When that last fall, and even I called this when we reviewed the show, she got her shoulder up at 2.
Yeah.
She rolled her shoulder while she was wiggling, and the camera caught that it shouldn't have been a 3 count, but she said in her broken English, the ref's decision is final. And so there's nothing she can do about that, but she's not done with Shayna Baszler. She doesn't really expound upon this, other than the fact that she's got 2 people with her. Shayna Baszler's got Jessamine and Duke with her, so you're right, it's probably leading to a 6-woman tag match. And I'm actually okay with that, because in NXT, a 6-person tag match actually means something.
Yeah.
Because they don't throw one at you, or 2 or 3 every fucking week.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, even like a team that was just, kind of thrown together, like the War Raiders, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne, that turned into something really special against, very established guys that are like, pretty much a faction, and I thought that was really great, and I think that the 6-woman tag will actually be a fantastic match as well. So,
well, Kairi Sane just basically lets Dakota Kai take the question. I don't remember what the question was. I honestly don't really remember what Dakota Kai said.
Dakota Kai said she's already has her history with Shayna Baszler as well.
That would have been my guess as to what she would say.
Well, that's what she's saying. Pretty much it was like your standardized, hey, I hate this woman, you hate this woman, we hate these women. Let's fight them.
What I do remember is Io Shirai. She says that Kairi Sane is her best friend.
Yeah.
I guess this is where it's written into the story. Okay, they are best friends because they are both Japanese, and they are the only 2 Japanese female wrestlers in NXT. So, damn it, they're best friends. They've known each other for years. They were born down the street from each other. I don't know. This could go very deep if they wanted it to.
I think Vince got in the writing room again.
So yeah, we're looking probably at a 6-woman tag. It should be fun.
Yeah.
Considering we've got a couple of months until the next NXT takeover, I see it happening in 3 weeks' time ish.
I give it 2.
But next we have the aforementioned match, EC3 making his return from injury, and he is facing Marcel Bartel.
Yeah.
Who what? Oh, I wanted to make sure of the botch, but he's from Hamburg, Germany.
Yes.
So he is a hamburger. Just thought I'd throw that out there because it was funny to me. So this match was pretty good. Along with poise, Marcel Bartel actually is very adept in the ring at showing feeling emotion. He is good at acting physically with his body without being able to say anything.
Yeah.
He actually took a lot of this match.
He did. He had some, I won't say great offense, because a lot of it looked, I don't know if it looked botched or if it was supposed to just look messy and nasty on occasion. Because he had this guy that's like, all poised and very proper and whatnot, but he's nailing these really gnarly looking moves.
Well, nothing seems to land like I think it should or pop. Like maybe I'm getting used to these hits where they slap their knee and make it sound ridiculous. Yeah. But so Bartel gets EC3 caught up in the ropes in the way that I think the luchas might pose, where they get caught up in the ropes sideways. Who's the wrestler that used to pose like that?
I don't know, but it was almost like somebody paused to 619, and he was just kind of like suspended in between 2 ropes.
So he's over there in the corner, and I think what's his name, Cien Almos.
Yeah,
I think he poses like that, similar to this. Anyway, he comes running at him. Bartel is running at EC3, who's caught up in the ropes like that, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then he does this drop kick where he falls completely to the ground, and they pick the worst camera choice. They cut when he lands, and his knees are folded into him like he's almost in the fetal position. Yeah. And I'm like, that is the weakest looking drop kick. Mm-hmm. I was like, if he'd have come into the ropes with a knee to his face, like a running knee, or if he'd have come at him
face
with
wash or Yakuza kick or
just
something.
A single boot to the face, would have looked brutal. but he lands this weak-looking drop kick. And that is the only offensive note I have on Bartel. From this point, EC3 takes back over. He throws Bartel into the corner, but he slides him. Bartel is on his knees, sliding into the corner. Thank God he's got knee pads on.
Yeah.
Sliding into the corner, goes face first into the middle turnbuckle.
Mm-hmm.
That was wicked looking. And then we get EC3 with that TKO that he calls, the top 1%er?
Yep.
Which is just an uninspired name for his finishing move.
Well, you also had out of Bartel, you also had that almost like weird spinning, look almost like an Emerald Frozen, almost like Celtic Cross or White Noise.
Yeah. Oh, that was the botch.
Yeah.
That I talked about earlier. I'm reading my notes and I was way ahead of where I should have been.
Yeah.
So he goes for this, looks like a White Noise.
White Noise.
And he doesn't quite get EC3's head all the way around his hip. And when he drops it, he basically sits on EC3's face.
But
Had to have.
But for some reason, it actually looked cool to me. Like, it's like he had this... It's almost like it was just... That's what it says.
It was streamlined.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he dropped him when he did, is because in order to finish the move and bring him all the way around, it would have looked a little less fluid.
Yeah.
And so he just dropped him when he did, sat on his face. It looked extremely streamlined, but I think it was botched, man. I don't think he was meant to drop his ass on his head. But yeah, EC3 wins this match, and then he cuts a promo where it's weird because he's like talking about giving the Undisputed Era some time off from worrying about him, and I'm like, that's weird. I can't think of anybody else that he's feuding with. But no, he pardons the Undisputed Era just to put a spotlight on and call out Bobby Fish in particular. And I'm like, yeah, but he's still like, and if you're going after him, then he's definitely coming with the other three. Mm-hmm. So what was the point of the beginning of this promo? I guess just to lengthen it. This episode was only like 52 minutes long, so there was plenty of time for Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch's full entrance. There was plenty of time for everything. We didn't get any jobber entrances. That's good. Mm-hmm. So that's a break from our NXT UK and all the jobber entrances where they're just in the ring. Those are fun. So up next we get a video package. Everybody gets one. This was actually pretty cool. And honestly, I was disappointed at the end. It's got this guy. You know, it's just showing close-ups of like him punching and like his jaw and his eye and like, and so I don't know who the fuck this guy is, you know, but video package is pretty cool. It's not as menacing as some of them, like the Lars Sullivan video packages that they've had on Raw and SmackDown the last few weeks. Yeah. Or the last week. Those make Lars Sullivan look super menacing. This one just looks pretty good. And I'm like, okay, they got a new powerhouse or some shit, you know, a boxer, an MMA guy, you know, they got somebody coming in that's going to be really... no, it's Donovan Dijak being repackaged as, hold on, let me get this right, Dijakovic, or I guess depending on how you pronounce it, Dijakovic. Yeah. And I just think that makes his name sound even more like the word jack off. Oh. Dijakovic. Like seriously. So that's what that is. Yep. A promo for a name change, basically, because this isn't new. He's not, I guess he's re-debuting, is the best way to put it.
They've been doing a lot of relaunches and stuff like that, but also like the WWE, and I guess now NXT is going to be notorious for that.
So I guess this is fine. I was just annoyed because I was hoping for somebody new, but that's all right, whatever. So up next we have an attempted interview. We're outside of Full Sail, I'm assuming, and it's kind of like a paparazzi TMZ style. She's getting out of her car, going in. Candice LeRae, going in, looking very dejected, kind of ignoring everything, just going straight for the door. They want to ask her if the new side of Candice LeRae that we saw last week during her match with Nikki Cross was like, you know, because of what her and her husband have been going through, and she's just ignoring them. One of them even asked her if she's okay. Are you okay? Just ignores them. So that's heel moves to me. Yeah, I think. But that's all we get of that. You haven't talked in a minute. What did you think of this attempted interview? I'm just sitting here going through the list of what happened on the show.
Well, that's pretty much the whole idea of a review program. But yeah, with her, there's really no telling because she only had that one day where she had like the dark hair and the eyeliner and whatnot.
Yeah, I think they thought that was a little too forward about the heel turn.
I think that like the way they eased into it in the Nikki Cross match, how she started off, still a little bubbly and everything, but by the middle of that match, you really started seeing more of a darker side come out, Candice LeRae. I think that was handled a lot more beautifully than when she got confronted by Aleister Black, a couple weeks prior.
Well, there's definitely mixed signals here because I saw a tweet from Candice LeRae. That outfit that she wore last week, or basically for the dark match at the pay-per-view, was a design that I think she said her niece drew for her, and she had it turned into ring gear.
That's pretty cool.
So that she could go out and lose to Nikki Cross, wearing her niece's ring gear. Woo! Saved it for a real special occasion there, Candice. I guess she figured after this point she wouldn't be able to wear something so babyface.
Yeah,
so maybe get it in now.
Yeah, that could very well be the case. It was just one of these things where it was just something to wear.
So next we actually have a match: Vanessa Bourne versus Mia Yim, and called this guy out earlier.
I said Mia Kim.
Yep, it's not just me. I mean, her finishing move is Eat Defeat.
Yeah.
And she calls it Eat Defeat. I mean, why not? It is, the move Gail Kim did. So, Mia Yim, who looked amazingly underwhelming in this match.
Yeah. Laid in a couple of good kicks. That's pretty much it for me.
All the moves that she did were ugly.
Yes.
They were done. Like, she does an armbar. Ugly ass armbar. Vanessa Bourne gets to the ropes. She does this. What was it? I don't even remember. Oh yeah, she does this tarantula. She gets her into the ropes and does this tarantula.
I got really excited about the tarantula.
Terrible decision because in order to do a tarantula, you need your opponent to be long enough for their knees to reach the bottom rope and their shoulders to reach the top rope, and Vanessa Bourne just is not. And so she tries...
She barely hooks her feet because, like, it's just
for the first one or two of the 5 count, she's still trying to hook Vanessa Bourne's feet because she can't get her calves around the bottom rope. Yeah, anything I saw of her was...
Okay, so, like, Yim, we've established, was disappointing. But the real star, Vanessa Bourne,
looked amazing.
Fantastic. This was the night, I wouldn't really call it an enhancement talent, but I'm going to say whoever was like already slated to lose this match was going to make the match look great.
They wanted to make sure that people remembered them
at
the end of the match. And she was much more memorable. She does this move. She's got Yim in the corner. And the way I say this is Mia Yim is biting the middle turnbuckle. Yeah. So she is seated in the corner, but she's facing the turnbuckle. And Vanessa Bourne comes flying in with a Bronco Buster to the middle rope.
Yeah.
But she doesn't stop there. She doesn't do the Bronco Buster, the bouncing. She locks in an inverted triangle with her feet coming around the buckle part, or the connecting part of the buckle. And this looked awesome. This was pre-tarantula.
Yeah.
So she was the first to do one of these submission moves tied up in the ropes. The 5 count had to break it. What was the other move she does?
Oh, that spinning suplex, that float over one.
Yeah, she goes for a vertical but stops mid and spins into a neck breaker. Yep. Looked great. Several people have that finishing move.
But she floats beautifully into a pit, like a two count, I think it was.
I don't even know if it was a 2 count. I think it was a 1 count actually, because they did the replay later, and that bugged me.
Yeah.
That Yim would kick out after just 1. That should have at least been a 2 count, but whatever. Yim goes over. She after the attempted tarantula, she just ends up landing a few kicks in the corner. that were ugly and then doesn't eat defeat. Now, the eat defeat looked great, but I'm sure she's got tons of practice with that. That is her finishing move.
And she even calls for it, which I was like, okay, that's great.
That's great. Yeah, she wins. Let's move on, because other than praising Vanessa Bourne, I'm over this match. It was okay. It was an okay match. We get a Performance Center update. They show the War Raiders, Hanson and Rowe, in the medical unit, I guess, of the Full Sail University.
Yep.
And we're going to get an update, I think they said next week on them, but basically we're meant to believe the War Raiders are injured, so they're not here this week. They may not be on TV for a while, but we're going to get an update next week.
We'll say that much. That match was the War Games match was pretty brutal on them. They delivered a lot of punishment, but they also took a hell of a lot.
I tell you, there was a part of that War Games match I don't think we mentioned during our review that I'd love to mention now. Hanson doing that front handspring into the ropes and coming back with the elbow.
I hadn't seen done that crisp since Tajiri.
Oh man, a guy that size doing that was awesome.
Yeah.
And so if he needs to take a few weeks off because his elbows hurt, go right ahead, brother. That was awesome.
I was about to say, like, they made me believers that night. So like, going into that match, I wasn't really stoked about them being in it. But then for all the offense and some of the moves they ended up taking themselves, like,
well, they were offensively, they were like half the match.
Like I said, Hanson was my MVP for that match in general.
Oh yeah,
because that guy was all over the place and just doing spot after spot. Yeah. He was just great,
and every spot he does is just multiplied by 10 or 20 because of his size. Mm-hmm. The unbelievability of it. That he could do such a thing. But yeah, that he was definitely the MVP of that match. But getting back to this show, speaking, as you mentioned a moment ago, of believers.
Yes.
We get a backstage promo with Tommaso Ciampa, who is trying to make believers out of everyone. Mm-hmm. He said, when he comes back from injury, he is going to be the most sadistic fucker in NXT history.
Yes.
He said that all he needed was one opportunity at that NXT championship, and he was going to be champ. He is making believers out of everyone.
Yes, that's his mission, and now he's telling people when he comes back this next week for NXT to follow him.
Yeah, follow him. So
follow him and Goldie.
And Goldie, yeah, I guess that, I don't know if he's mentioned it before, but that is his official name for the belt. Because as we all know, he's a little crazy. He talks to the belt. But that's okay because he's Tommaso Ciampa and he...
in all fairness, he doesn't talk to the belt. The belt talks to him.
He's not crazy. He's psycho. He is a psycho killer. I don't know what you know about Tommaso Ciampa, but that is actually the crowd chant for him when he's a babyface, psycho killer.
The Sicilian psycho.
So, next up is the main event of the evening. And this is the match that we have been waiting for because they let us know this was happening last week. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, licking my chops. This is going to be a fucking hell of a match. Mm-hmm. And it honestly did not disappoint. I was expected to be disappointed by this match. Yeah. We had Keith Lee versus Lars Sullivan. They met up last week and had some exchange. Mostly they met up. Yeah.
They met in the ring at one point, but then like a lot of what was going on with them was more backstage than anything else.
Because you had Keith Lee come in when Lars was doing a pounding on the jobber after the match and interrupt and do the pounce on Lars. But then in the back you had the confrontation where they were yelling at each other. There was no physicality there, thank God. In this match there was plenty of physicality.
Oh yeah. Like, you get two guys in the ring with that size, you usually don't think it's going to be that great a pace of a match, and it's going to be a whole bunch of stuff you already seen before, maybe some test of strength or something, something that just kind of keeps the match.
There was no test of strength. Actually, there kind of was. Because they started this match out trading power moves. Yeah. Kind of trying to one-up each other, daring each other to be able to hit harder. Yeah. And the whole time they're doing this, I'm just talking to him about the fact that they're promoting Lars Sullivan to be this beast, this monster, this mammoth, this I think Vic Joseph used so many fucking adjectives.
And Nigel kept on calling him the Leviathan.
Oh, just to describe him. And I'm like, well, really? And finally, I think Nigel says, everything you just said, normally you couldn't say about his opponents, but definitely you can say about Keith Lee. Keith Lee, I thought he had him by height, but I think they're actually about the same height. He's definitely got him on weight, size. Lars might have the speed, and he actually, despite being smaller, have the strength advantage. Mm-hmm. Because while they were trying to trade off, eventually Lars just picks up Keith Lee and runs him into the corner.
Yes.
And from this point, Lars starts taking this match.
Oh, yeah. And then for, like, we had a reversal a little while later with the crossbody of Keith Lee, which is always so quick. He always, like, nails that crossbody so quick.
Well, it looked to me like he was going for a Sheamus-style slingshot shoulder tackle.
Yeah.
But Lars ends up kicking him in the shoulder. And Lars is just dominating this with power moves until the point to where I start worrying that I'm going to lose interest in this match because Lars puts on a neck hold, a rest hold. And I'm like, these guys don't need a rest hold because other than a little bit of speed by Keith Lee, this match has been very low paced.
Yeah.
And they can breathe just fine because they're lumbering around. And we don't need a rest hold here. This match is already slow enough. And this is where Keith Lee, it's not actually a very long break of a rest hold. Keith Lee comes back. He starts taking this match, and he starts actually hitting these cross bodies. He fucking hits the slingshot crossbody, which was impressive enough.
Yeah.
But then you've got Lars on the outside, and he does a plancha, a corkscrew crossbody
plancha
onto Lars Sullivan, and good God.
Like, you've seen Undertaker, like, do suicide dives. You've seen him do just regular planches or yeah. Keith did a corkscrew plancha.
This guy's got to be 330, 350 pounds easy.
Nigel called it a corkscrew senton, which was wrong, but it also made us think that'd be a sweet-ass move to see. But
yeah, as soon as I heard the words corkscrew senton, I'm like, it would be... I don't think they do a lot of corkscrew moves off the top rope because once you press off, there's no controlling where you land, what angle you land at. So, like, you wouldn't want to do that into a leg drop.
No.
Because you might end up missing altogether. But I think if you were doing a seated senton onto a standing opponent, probably wouldn't matter which angle your legs are at. So you could definitely... I would love to see a corkscrew senton.
Yeah.
So anyway. So this match ends basically the way I said it should end. Because if this is Lars Sullivan's last match, he needs to leave with a victory.
Yes.
And it doesn't need to be over a jobber. It needs to be over main talent. And the problem with that is most of the main talent, even a guy like EC3, still kind of looks like a job. And he's already lost to Lars Sullivan, by the way, so it doesn't matter there.
Yeah.
But most of the main talent looks like jobbers compared to Lars Sullivan. The only guy that even dwarfs him, actually, is bigger than him, Keith Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And Keith Lee's kind of new. He can take the loss. He's had several victories in a row. You don't need him to be undefeated. He can take this loss, especially if it's Lars Sullivan's last match, which we don't know if it's going to be. But if it is, I approve.
I think that is going to be Lars' last match because there wasn't really a lot of celebration. But at the same time, he actually, got his arm raised and nobody seemed mad about it. That's a good thing because everybody enjoyed the match thoroughly.
It was great,
which you can't really say about a lot of the big man matches that you see. You don't see people applauding after big show matches. You don't see people saying high-fiving and saying match of the year when Mark Henry wrestled. With these two right here, both are main event caliber talents, I think, and both put on an extremely good big man match. It was very, very throwbackish to the days where the Giants kind of ruled the ring, but also had the move sets and whatnot, and the charisma to really back the stuff up.
Yeah,
and that's what really sold me on the match was the fact that it didn't really tell a story.
Well,
But
I didn't notice any long story from beginning to end of this match or anything like that.
No.
But I did notice little subplots, little small stories that they told. Like at the beginning, where basically Lars is trying to treat Keith Lee as if he's just anybody, any size, whatever. He's not a guy that's actually bigger than Lars Sullivan.
Yeah.
And then quickly realizes that he is bigger, but then soon after realizes that doesn't matter. He's Lars Sullivan, and he lifts this sumbitch up, and he does that move. It's like John Cena's suplex that he does in the middle of the five.
He just chucks him forward,
and he chucks Keith Lee to the mat. And I look at him, and I'm like, how often in Keith Lee's career does he actually have to take a bump like that? Motherfuckers can't lift that ass.
No.
God damn. Oh man, this match was awesome.
Yeah.
Just the little stories. Just the fact that Keith Lee probably lost because he was probably a little too not arrogant necessarily, but cocky for sure. Like he thought he was going to go in this and win this match, and the end of this match saw him, and it told the story at the end. He goes for this moonsault off the second rope.
Yep.
And misses, and immediately Lars Sullivan picks him up into the freak accident and wins.
I noticed with the freak accident too, Lars actually held him up for a little bit there too.
Oh man,
he suspended him.
That is
in
a
air.
strong motherfucker.
Yes.
Jesus. So Lars Sullivan looks great, and I don't think this took anything away from Keith Lee, even in defeat. Keith Lee looked great. He looked like he was going for probably not the finish of the match, but he was going for a moonsault and missed.
Yeah.
And shit happens. He gets picked up into a freak accident, loses the match because nobody has kicked out of a freak accident, I don't think, yet. I'm sure that'll change once he gets to the main roster. Maybe give it 6 to 8 months after he gets to the main roster, somebody will end up kicking out of a freak accident at a pay-per-view or some shit.
I think it was also the fact that, like, Keith kind of saved all those high-flying moves for the end, just kind of throw Lars off his game as well. You don't expect those kind of moves out of a guy that's 300 pounds. You know, you don't expect to see him corkscrewing out of the ring to you. You don't expect to see him going up to the top, like going up to the second or top rope even, and going for a moonsault. It just is not commonplace. Okay, there's this thing called gravity, and I'm thinking Lars taking that into account and thinking, okay, this guy's about my size, if not bigger. He's not gonna pull this shit. Well, he did. He almost nailed it, and he did an awesome job doing it.
So they both look good. Lars looked great. The match was great. I enjoyed it. But we are now at the end of the main event, and that means we are down to the rating system of the General's 5 stars. So out of 5 stars, Mr. Slaughter, what do you rate this main event?
I definitely give it a 4. I'm not going to say it was like, you know, I'm not going to say it was match of the year caliber.
No.
Not by any means. These guys were 2 very large gentlemen, but they put on an excellent match. Possibly Lars' last one in NXT, which he went out with a superb opponent. Superb. And if anything, Keith Lee did not lose this match in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I mean, technically.
Well, he lost that whole 3 count thing, but we don't really count that.
In the books, he will have lost.
In the record,
but in our memories, we'll remember the match, but we won't care that Lars Sullivan won.
We won't matter.
We're going to remember that fucking over-the-top rope plancha to the outside, that fucking corkscrew crossbody. God damn. So, I'm going to agree with you. This main event did not come off of a great show. It came off of an okay show, and
if anything, I think it kind of saved it because if that match like sucked, we probably wouldn't be, you know,
we'd probably be a little more dismal for this review. Yeah,
that got us really hyped back up because, like, granted, Vanessa Bourne did some great work. We had.
But she lost.
Yeah, and she lost.
The Mighty looked great, but they lost.
They lost. So it felt like all these great talents.
Marcel Bartel looks suave as fuck, and he lost.
Everybody that we wish would have won, we had already underlined that, you know, we're gonna lose.
Yeah, we knew from the beginning they were the enhancement talent.
But
maybe not so much with the opening match, the tag team match, but definitely with Bartel and with Bourne.
Yeah.
So I go with 4. This was a great match, but it was not amazing. It wasn't a 5-star match or anything like that, and it didn't come off of a rousing show or anything.
Just the physicality.
But it was a great
alone.
match. I give it 4 stars, easy. So, we want to thank you for joining us. Join us tomorrow, please, for our NXT party. That's where we review NXT UK.
Yep.
And we already checked it. Again, there's 2 episodes. So, new format. Boss Man doesn't like to have to upload 2 videos every week, and I can respect that. So we are going to do 2 separate episodes, and we're just going to put them together. So when you see that it's like an hour and 15, hour and a half long, just know that cut that in half, and that's where the first episode ends, and then you can come back and watch the second episode later if you'd like to. But yeah, join us tomorrow for NXT Party. We will be having Noah on the show, and we look forward to that. Another No DQ super fan. Noah's great. I actually think he's going to be on a panel possibly soon, so look forward to that. But before you get to meet Noah on the official A-Team show, come see him on NXT Party, and he will be joining us for a cup of NXT. If you would like to be on NXT Party, we toggled with the idea of extending the 3-person show and having guests on this show, but unless we get a whole lot of people wanting to be on the show and we can't do enough people on one show a week, we're just going to leave this show as just the 2 of us. But if you'd like to join us on NXT UK, you can find me on Twitter. Go to nodq.com/Stefan. That's STEFAN. And you can also just find me on Twitter. Go to at Stefan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. And hit up my DMs. Let me know if you want to be on the show. We will find out a schedule that works for everybody. You can find this man on Twitter now, too.
No DQ General. And also I have a group on Facebook called Armbar.
All caps?
All caps. ARMBAR.
Exclamation point.
And I almost forgot to help spell Armbar. Wow, that's impressive.
I think somebody that messaged me was trying to find Armbar, and apparently there are now duplicates of all caps, ARMBAR, exclamation point even. And my advice is best of luck to you. Maybe join all of them. Find the one that me and Jerry are on, because this guy posts regularly, at least once a day.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find him and then delete the others or keep the others if you want to or whatever. But yeah, ARMBAR, exclamation point. On that note, I am the Wizard of No DQ, Stefan Osborne. As always, joined by Jerry the General Slaughter. And thank you guys for joining us for What's NXT. We will see you tomorrow, hopefully, and we will see you next week. We'll see you NXT time. I screwed that up. Let me try that again. We'll see you NXT time.